So now we've got the basics of the Rubik's Cube, let's try and put it into a more realistic scene. Now, I'm going to come out the camera and let's have a look at what we've got. So if I look at my reference image, one thing I'll notice is actually it looks a lot brighter. Now that could be partially to do with the lighting in the scene. What I will do though is I'm just going to check my materials and let's make sure they are a bit more realistic. So roughness is obviously how rough the sticker is. If I'm going to put that down to about 0.2, and the specular, which is pretty much just how shiny the material is, I'm going to put that up to 1. So you have, if you look at the preview, you'll notice it's a lot shinier. It's not fully reflective, but it's a bit more like a sticker. So let's do that across here, because that's obviously not how the sticker tends to look. So obviously this is completely up to you how you want the stickers to be. I'd like them to be a bit shinier. So that's the first thing. Second thing is, this is not a really realistic scene. You don't have things floating around in the middle of nowhere on a shiny metal surface. So I can actually get rid of, I can stop this from showing now, just click on the eyeball up here. And let's have a look at how to make this scene a little bit more interesting. First thing I'm going to do is I'm going to scale this up a little bit further to give me a bit more space. And I'm going to move the Rubik's Cube to the back of it. So click on one bit, shift and click on another bit, shift and click on another bit, shift and click on the actual Rubik's Cube. Shift and clicking selects all of them. So I'm going to press G and then X to move it near the back. Now what I'm going to do here, as per my reference image, is I'm going to put in like the edge of a wall here. So I've got a skirting board and a wall. Bits like skirting board actually make a difference because you don't get many walls that don't have skirting boards along the bottom. So what we need to do, get our 3D cursor, click here, and we're going to add a cube. And we're firstly going to scale this on the y-axis to make it nice and long. Go as long as we want because we're not seeing all of it, because we're just going to get a certain part of it in the frame. And scale it up on the z-axis to make it a bit taller. That's a really basic, blocky one at the moment. I'm going to scale it on the y-axis to make it, x-axis to make it less deep. At this stage, when you're really working at it, you might think, I would like to be able to see this a bit better. So I'm going to get material, and let's say I'm going to have a white skirting board. So that should, actually let's do a black one. So just like the one in the IT room here at the moment. Let's scale it, let's take it up on the z-axis a bit. Now obviously you need to work out the scale of the Rubik's Cube to the skirting board. We've got quite high skirting boards in here, so they're probably about the same height as the Rubik's Cube. Next one, I'm going to do another cube. I'm going to move it a little bit further back, and I'm just going to scale this on the y-axis, scale on the z. Obviously when you scale, it goes to the middle, so actually it's going down as well as up. That shouldn't matter too much. And this one is going to be white. So kind of like the colour in this room. Maybe a little bit off-white, maybe a tiny bit magnolia colour. Ooh, not that far, it's a bit green. Obviously you can, if you know specific colour, RGB or hexadecimal, you can do that. But remember, it's all relative to light. And there we are. Lastly, I'm going to sort out this flooring, because this flooring does not look realistic at all. I'm going to do a wooden flooring, not a carpet flooring, because it's just a good material I've got. Obviously you can do whichever flooring you would like. If you've not done it before, I'd really suggest we add in the add-on for the Polygon materials. So edit preferences, and I go to add-ons and install. And if you go to student share, and we're going to scroll down to Blender resources, Polygon texture add-on, and click on that and install add-on. So yeah, mine's here, material, Polygon material converter. I need to tick it, and what we should do is when we cross out of this, on our materials we should see the Polygon material converter. Now, this allows us to pull in texture sets, so it's got all the pictures, but also the bumps and stuff to make it look realistic. So I'm going to click on the little folder there, and I'm going to go to Student Share, Blender Resources. I'm going to go to Textures, and I'm going to pick one of these wood floorings down here. Let's go for 61 and 3K and accept. Now it's going to show me roughly what the material looks like here. I'm going to load one material, so it's going to load it, all of the bits into Blender, then I apply it to the selected material, which is the floor. So that took mine about 15 to 20 seconds to add in. Hopefully yours will be a little bit faster because you are completely connected to the network. But there we go, now we've got our Rubik's Cube against the wall. Now you'll notice it's a bit dark. We can just use this lighting. But one of the problems with this is just a point of light, which isn't hugely realistic. Normally a scene like this would be lit through a window, for example, or at least a light bulb. We're going to assume it's going to be a window. So we're just going to move it right off to the side over here, pretending that the window is over here. And then when we're on the light settings, we're going to click on Area. Now, at the moment, you think, oh, that's not lighting up very much at all. Firstly, we're going to rotate it on the Z-axis so it's pointing roughly towards where we want. Let's go a bit higher as well. So you can get the rotations, might do X as well, so that it's kind of pointing towards your Rubik's Cube. You may decide you want your Rubik's Cube a bit closer, so I'm going to select all of them. So shift clicking. And just be careful when you're doing this, you don't select anything you don't want to. And then let's go X right at the wall. I'm actually rotate it a little bit on the Z-axis so we're a bit more interesting angled. Good. So let's go back to our light. At the moment, this is obviously quite dim, so I'm going to turn this up to 10,000 watts. So we've got a lot more light on the scene. But it's also really small, it's still a point of light. So we're going to change the size here to 10 by 10. Now that's still a bit small. I can scale it by pressing S and just make it really, really big. And what this does is if it's small, the shadows get a lot harder edged. If it's bigger, we get a lot softer edge shadowed. So it's a bit more realistic. Maybe not quite that big. Let's get inside my camera. And let's move over towards our object. I'm just going to save it quickly. And call it Rubiks. And then I'm going to render it. So that took 8 seconds, and it looks okay, but it's not perfect. It's just a bit uninteresting and dull at the moment. So let's have a look to see what we can do to make this better. Cross that off. Firstly, let's come out of the camera mode. This skirting board looks a bit, well, naff. If you look at the skirting board in this room, it certainly doesn't look this cubey. So we're going to go into edit mode. I'm going to come out of viewport and go back to flat mode. You don't have to do that, but I find it easier. And go to edit mode. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to do something called add some loop cuts. To add a loop cut, you can either select the option over here, or if I do Control R, when I'm in edit mode, you'll see it comes up with a yellow line. I'm going to click it once, move it down, right near where the plane is, like that. I'm going to do another one, and click once, and then move it to roughly where it is in real life. So what I'm doing here is I'm making cuts where almost the seams are on our skirting board. Now, to actually edit this, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go onto the edge select mode and select just this edge. I'm going to go on the x-axis and move a bit in. Select this one, go on the x-axis, move it a bit in. And then what you've now got is you've got a bit of shape to the skirting board. Now it might not be completely obvious when you're actually in the camera mode, but actually you'll see the light reflect off it a little bit different. The other thing we really need to do, so let's get back into viewport shading, is Eevee is really good, let's get out of edit mode, really good for showing like some basics, but not necessarily realistic. So what we're going to do is we're going to save it quickly and then going to change from Eevee to cycles. Now cycles is a lot slower, but it's a lot more realistic. So if realism is what we're looking for, this is what we've got to do. Now I'm going to do a few changes. I'm going to change on this bit with cycles. I'm going to change it from 128 to 64, which should speed up our rendering time. It does less samples, less realistic, but you know, easier to do. I'm going to tick simplify. So this just makes it quicker to render. I don't need to change any of this. We're going to keep it at 1920 by 1080. On this one, you'll notice it's a load of stuff you don't need to know, but if you scroll right down the bottom, it's got denoising, and that will stop it from being all speckly. So tick on denoising, and then you're ready to do a render. So again, I'm going to save it again because you don't want it to crash when it's doing this. So we're going to render image, and then we're going to have to wait for probably about 5 or 6 minutes for it to render. So it'll be a good time to relax and just watch it do its magic. So after about 5 minutes or so, you'll get something that looks a bit like this. You've got your floor, you've got your skirting board up against there. The skirting board at the moment looks a little bit clean and tidy, so you might at some point want to mess around with that. You might want to put more light in the scene, it's up to you. But we've got a reasonably realistic looking Rubik's Cube against a wall, and that is how you do it.